Welcome to Granja Caimito. This video is to follow up on some of your suggestions. Some of you have asked me about building a dam at the place where we have the lake or the pond right here next to our zone A17. So I'm following up on that idea, and let me show you a little bit around and maybe think about what could be done. So here we are at the side of the pond. There it is. And as you can see, it is still pretty full. But by now, the water level is a bit lower than it used to be. But then we are at the very end of August. In a couple of days there will be rain, so then this will change again. But looks like that this is the lowest level that we have. So let's go closer. Here we are. So you can see it has a bathtub shape because the goal was to get some material for a refill of another place. And the bank over there is pretty steep, which is because the terrain is rising. And here where the outflow is, you can see how much water has evaporated or has been sinking into the ground. And you see that there is a remnant of a berm that used to be here before we dug it. If I go over to the other side, you will see that over there's also a berm. So someone in the past had some sort of a garden here in this area, and to protect it, they built the fence and also created a berm so that the seasonal creek, when the violent water flow happen, will not wash away the crops that they have been cultivating in there. So if we wanted to make a modification and make the surrounding areas benefit more from the amount of water that we can store, then we now need to go to the other side and have a closer look from there. So here I'm at the end of the outflow where it crosses the easement and goes into our zone B1. And now you see, if I crouch down, how this area looks like. So you can see a dam would basically have to be at the elevation or the height of this berm over there. There we have the fence post, so that would be the line. So let me draw the line. It would go like that and then meet the terrain on the other side. So that's certainly feasible. But then if we do this, we have a water level that is then probably almost as high or exactly as high as the terrain that we have here. And now if you look from this side here, so if that would be the level, then of course there where the metal meshes and the stump, we would also end up at a higher elevation. So basically when you are on the other side of the fence, then you would look against the dam. So that is something we can do. But if we do this without getting a proper permit, then someone might definitely complain because they will accuse us of stopping the water flow. Of course, we would not be stopping any water flow because it will leave this reservoir and continue flowing. But one thing is what happens and the other is what a law says. So when we got the visit by the environmental agency and we had a little bit of water in here, that was in summer, they complained about this. But they understood all the good things that we are doing, so they did never follow up on this. And nobody actually took any action against us for modifying a public waterway, because this seasonal creek is charted. So it appears on a map. It doesn't have a name like the other one that is further down, which is the outflow of the big water reservoir. But it appears on a map, and therefore we are not allowed to truncate it. And of course now the question is, if I build a dam here in this area to hold a little bit more water and keep the surrounding areas left and right moist, if that would be considered truncating the water flow. That's a question of interpretation. And of course it needs someone who believes that we are doing something bad and therefore wants to accuse that and send the Environmental Protection Agency again, and they will show up with some police officers, and this could be a serious thing. So if I go on the other side, I will stop the video for a moment, then I can show you how this looks, or how it would look like from further down below. So here I am on the other side, crouched down for perspective. So there's the fence post, and we would have a dam over there, and I would look against this dam. Of course, what we can do is we can rise up the terrain over here, which is a sensible thing to do, because our animal path basically has a ditch here, and we can eliminate the ditch. We have some stones that we can use, so we can fill it up, and then we would fill also this part here up all the way to the other side, and then the entrance to the farm to the left would also be improved, and then we would grade it and let it go down gently until it hits our own I am in my own property, but the thing is, it will go here and go gently a little bit down. So I'm basically now walking in the dried out creek, and it would then come to here and would go into the ditch on the other side. So that's something that we could do. The only question is whether this is worth the hassle and the potential risk that someone might object. So given the situation with this tenant that doesn't want to leave, maybe now is not the time, because this is the entrance where they go in and out. And once the problems have been solved, again, I cannot talk about this in great detail, but once the problems have been solved, then in collaboration with the actual owner of this land over there, then maybe we can do something. But for the time being, I guess there are more important things to do. But I wanted to show you guys how the situation on the ground looks like. Please keep the good ideas and comments coming. And as you can see, I try to follow up whenever there's an opportunity. So now you have seen how it looks like, and you can also use the map that is in the channel header, so that you can get even more details about this piece and also the surrounding areas. Keep in mind that the map that is currently available at Google Maps has an aerial picture from November 2020. So in November everything is green. This is when the acorn season starts, and now we are at the end of summer, and of course it looks quite different. But now that I'm walking around here, as you can see, we had the horses here. This is also an area where a lot of Bermuda grass is emerging, and earlier during the summer we had, of course, the neighbor cows from over there grazing this, because it's the only green patch besides the one that we have there and further ahead. But this is all thanks to our way of managing things. And this is supposed to become a paddock. So let me add this explanation also. You see here the easement. It has a little bend and then goes towards this gate. And when we can actually talk to the owner and make a decision, then I want to suggest those people that we move that gate further to over there and basically have the easement follow the stone wall, so that here in this area where currently the tire tracks are, that we can reclaim this and basically build a fence around that line. So give them the 5 meters for vehicle traffic, and the rest we can reclaim, and that will then give us a nice paddock with Bermuda grass. And that makes more sense than just have this bend here in the road. Historically, that is the other thing that I mentioned in a comment when I was answering. So now I can show you that. So here is a well. There is another shallow well that people in the past dug. And the past is something after 1984, when a family was living in this house there. And at that time, there was also a family living over there. The parents of the current owner and his sister, they lived here. So the current owner is an older gentleman by now. They lived there, and he grew up on this property. So at that time, the people occupying this land, they had an agreement to use this area here as a gathering place for cattle. And that also involves the older couple that lives there on the east side of our property. They all collaborated back then, and they were using this well. And here is an animal waterer. That is where they provided water to the animals. So this was the place where the animals were gathered before they were sold. And we then modified this a little bit to reclaim this area up there so that we can build a barn to the left. The problem is the path to the right, the part to the right where the car is parked right now and where you can see the dogs. This had suffered from a lot of erosion, and now it doesn't. So we have reshaped it and reclaimed it for a purpose, because our way of working is different than it was in the early 90s.